From the outside, the house looked like any other in the neighborhood. Brick walls warmed by sunlight, wind chimes on the porch, a tidy yard where dreams were supposed to grow. But for Elijah, it was a museum of someone else's victories. Every corner echoed his brother Nathan's name. Every picture frame, every dinner prayer, every holiday toast had been written as if Elijah had never been born. He could still remember the December morning that sealed it for him. Nathan tore open the biggest box under the tree, a brand new gaming console, and their parents nearly cried from joy. Elijah unwrapped a t-shirt from a hardware store, 2 sizes too big with a logo that said, "Dan's Plumbing, we keep it flowing." He was 7. Even at that age, he had learned to smile on command. "Thanks," he said, folding it neatly, while Nathan dashed off to plug in his new toy. That night, Elijah sat alone in front of reruns, while the rest of the family laughed in the other room. That was the rhythm of his childhood applause. For one son, silence for the other. There was always a reason. Nathan's older. He needs more. Nathan's under pressure. He deserves a break. Be grateful we treat you the same. Elijah tried. He worked twice as hard in school, stayed out of trouble, came out quietly at 17 with trembling hands and a heart full of hope. His mother said she needed time. His father said, "Don't make this a thing, babe." And just like that, his truth became a problem they decided not to solve. Years passed. Nathan got a car at 16, gleaming silver red ribbon. The works. Elijah got a used bike with a flat tire. "Good exercise," his father said, handing him a wrench as if that counted as love. Nathan's graduation came with a party and a rented venue catered food, live music, and at the end a gift that glowed. A new house fully paid for in a polished suburb with white fences and blue shutters. Elijah graduated the next year. No party, just a dinner at a chain restaurant where the server forgot his name and his parents handed him a plain envelope. Inside, there was a single lottery ticket. "We thought it'd be fun," his mother laughed. His father just shrugged. He nodded. He smiled, because what else was he supposed to do? Ask why they gave his brother a house and him a $2 joke. Demand an explanation. They would only accuse him of being sensitive. So Elijah said nothing. He rode the silence like a wave that never broke. He moved into a small studio apartment with peeling walls and a window that rattled in the wind. He worked 2 jobs, one at a marketing firm, where they thought diversity meant letting him design Pride graphics, and one at a diner where the tips were short, but the air was honest. The ticket stayed in the junk drawer, buried under expired coupons and broken pens, a token of what he meant to them. Not nothing, just not enough. And still he loved them in that quiet, reluctant way. You love the people who shaped your bones. He showed up for birthdays, sent Christmas cards, liked the family photos Nathan posted, even the ones where his own name was left out of the captions, especially those. Because Elijah still hoped, still dreamed that one day they might see him, not as the gay son, not as the other son, but as someone who mattered. But love, when ignored too long, becomes something else, a hollow, a hunger, a quiet storm waiting for a spark. And without meaning to, they gave him one. It came not in an apology, not in a breakthrough, but in a scratch-off ticket, a throwaway gesture from the people who had always thrown him away, and it was about to change everything. If you've ever felt like the invisible one in your family, like your love was loud, but theirs was quiet, don't miss what happens next. Subscribe to Heart Stories for true stories that matter. Elijah never scratched the ticket, not the next day, not the next week. It lived in the drawer like a sleeping ghost, harmless until touched. He had too many shifts, too many bills, too many voices in his head saying, "Be realistic." He didn't believe in miracles. And if something too good happened, it would only make the rest of his life look worse in comparison. The apartment he rented was on the 3rd floor of an old building that had once been a motel. His kitchen was barely big enough to turn around in. The pipes groaned every time the neighbor upstairs ran a bath, and the heating unit clicked like it was counting down to failure. But it was his. No one could tell him what to wear or who to be. He could light a candle at night without someone asking why it smelled too fruity, or hang up photos of the man he once loved without needing to explain. In that tiny space, Elijah built a fragile kind of peace, not happiness, but privacy. Outside, Nathan's world kept expanding. He posted videos touring his new kitchen, highlighting the backsplash their mother helped him choose. There were photos of brunches, golf trips, engagement parties. Always the caption, "Proud of our boy." Always the same 3 faces, Nathan, his older brother, with the polished smile and the life built on approval. Amanda, his fiancée, who once flinched when Elijah mentioned his boyfriend at Thanksgiving, and their parents beaming with the kind of pride Elijah had never been offered. They stood shoulder to shoulder in every photo, like a perfect family portrait where he had always been the missing piece. Elijah watched them from a screen, scrolling through updates between bites of leftover pasta. Sometimes he wondered if they kept him in the group chat out of habit or guilt, but most days he didn't wonder. He knew. He still responded at first. Still sent heart emojis when they posted about Nathan's promotions. Still laughed at their jokes, even if they weren't funny. He didn't want to seem bitter. He didn't want to confirm the unspoken story. They believed that he was the difficult one, the one who chose to be different. But one night after another long shift at the diner, he came home to find a message. Nathan, check out the new deck furniture. Mom and Dad love it. Beneath it, 2 hard-eyed emojis and a message from his mother. So proud of you, sweetheart. Elijah stared at the screen, then slowly pressed mute. The group chat fell silent, not in their world, but in his. He sat on the edge of his bed, shoes still on uniform, still smelling of grease. Around him, unpaid bills stacked next to tax forms and half-read self-help books. It wasn't a disaster. It was just unfinished. That was the word that always followed. Elijah unfinished, unclaimed, unwanted. The next morning, as he poured coffee into a chip mug, he opened the junk drawer without thinking. And there it was, the ticket. He didn't touch it, just stared as if it might offer an answer. Why did they give this to me? A joke? A test, a way of saying, don't expect anything real from us. The truth settled in like a slow ache. They didn't think he'd win because they never believed he could. They hadn't given him a chance. They'd given him a chance at a chance and dressed it up like generosity. Elijah laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was too small to be tragic. He put the ticket back, closed the drawer, took a sip of cold coffee, then he went to work. At the office, he pitched campaigns. No one remembered were his. He got polite nods in meetings, was the first to arrive and the last to leave. And every Pride Month, HR asked him to be the face of inclusion. They used his story, carefully edited, of course, like a rainbow filter on a broken mirror. At night, the diner gave him something else. Not purpose, not even money, but people. Regulars who tipped in quarters, but meant it. A waitress named Jenna, who once said, if you can survive being gay in this town, you can survive anything. She wasn't wrong. One Friday, a table of teenagers left behind a rainbow sticker on their receipt. Underneath it, they had written, "You're cool. Thanks for not judging us." He stuck the sticker on his fridge. It wasn't a trophy, but it was something no one else had given him before recognition. Life moved in this rhythm, tight, predictable, bearable, until the invitation came. His mother called, a rare event. Elijah almost didn't answer, assuming it was a pocket dial. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, voice too bright. "We're having dinner at Nathan's next weekend. Amanda's parents will be there. We'd love for you to come." He said he'd think about it. He already knew he would go. He brought a bottle of wine that cost more than he could afford, wore the one blazer he had left from college. As soon as he walked through the door, it was like stepping back into a childhood memory he never consented to keep. Nathan beamed. Amanda offered a practiced hug. His parents floated between rooms full of stories about tiles and wedding venues and steak seasoning. Elijah sat at the table chewing dry chicken while conversations orbited around Nathan. His name wasn't spoken once until dessert. "We've got exciting news," his mother said, placing her fork down. "We're helping Nathan and Amanda plan a dream wedding, Hawaii custom dress, full catering. It'll be magical." Elijah smiled barely, and me. The room went still. His father cleared his throat. Nathan looked away. "You never asked for anything," his mother said softly. "We thought you were doing fine." Elijah stood. "I am." And he left. That night, the ticket waited for him. Again, he pulled it from the drawer, ran his fingers over the edges and didn't scratch it. He didn't need the jackpot to know what he was worth, but still something in him whispered, "Check anyway." Elijah didn't plan to scratch the ticket that night. He just couldn't sleep. The noise in his mind was louder than the city outside. He lay still, staring at the ceiling fan, spinning in slow circles, as if it might pull the ache out of his chest and scatter it somewhere else. But it didn't. It just kept turning. He got up, walked barefoot to the kitchen, poured himself a glass of water. The drawer caught his eye. half open, cluttered. His fingers moved before his thoughts did. The ticket was there, curled slightly at the corners, faded just enough to look forgotten. He stared at it for a long time, then he scratched. The silver film peeled away with each stroke. It was just a ritual, one he didn't believe in. He read the numbers slowly out loud. Just once. 08, 15, 27, 34, 42, 56. He didn't react right away. Just sat there, let the silence wrap around him like a second skin. Then he opened his phone, typed the numbers into the state lottery website. Hit enter, the screen blinked, then held. Congratulations. Jackpot. Winner 134,000. Elijah didn't breathe for several seconds. His body didn't register the information. He read it again and again. His hands started to tremble. His breath caught like he'd been punched. He reached for the edge of the counter, afraid his legs might give out. It wasn't real, it couldn't be. He refreshed the page, same result. Refreshed again, still the same. He said the numbers out loud once more, just to be sure. It exact matched every digit. He sat down at the kitchen table. The laminate surface was worn thin in places, the corners chipped, but right now it felt like the edge of the universe. He stared at the ticket on the counter. It looked harmless, just a small piece of paper that had been an insult a week ago, and now it was power, not just money, power. His first thought wasn't joy, it was fear. What now? Who do you call when your life changes in a single breath? And what would his family do if they found out? That thought hit hardest. They had given him this ticket because they didn't think he'd win, because they didn't think he could win, and now they were going to want everything from it. He tucked the ticket under a stack of receipts, closed the drawer, locked it, sat back down. His phone buzzed. A message from Nathan. Hey man, can you help me move patio furniture this weekend? We just got a new set. Mom and Dad love it. No, how are you? No, I miss you. No, thanks for coming to dinner. Just another request. Elijah locked his phone and slid it under a cushion. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he paced, looked up articles. What to do if you win the lottery. They all said the same thing. Don't tell anyone. Hire a lawyer. Get a financial advisor. Stay anonymous. He took notes like a man preparing for war. The next morning, he took the day off work, called in with a vague excuse, sat on the floor of his apartment, and stared at the closed drawer like it held a ticking bomb. Eventually, he made a call to a firm downtown. Chose a woman named Carol. Her photo looked kind. Her reviews were excellent. He didn't tell her everything over the phone, just enough to schedule a meeting. When he walked into her office 2 days later, he was wearing the same blazer he had worn to Nathan's dinner. She greeted him with a firm handshake, a calm smile, and a notepad. He told her all of it, the ticket, the number, the fear, the family. She didn't flinch, just nodded. We'll protect you, she said, but you have to follow everything I say. No announcements, no early spending, no contact with anyone who might want a piece. He agreed. The next 3 weeks moved like a controlled fire. They set up an LLC to claim the winnings, opened private bank accounts, built legal layers between him and the check. When he finally picked it up, he wore jeans and a hoodie. The security guard barely looked up. 20 minutes later, Elijah walked out of the state lottery office holding a piece of paper worth $134 million. Well, after taxes, it was closer to $85 million. But to Elijah, it might as well have been magic. He didn't go on a shopping spree. He didn't post online. He didn't call anyone. He went home, sat down and cried. Not because he was rich, but because for the first time in his life, he was untouchable. No more crumbs, no more pretending, no more forcing himself to be someone else's version of enough. He used part of the money to pay off his student loans, quietly quit the diner job with a smile and a $5,000 tip for his manager, who had always treated him like a human being. Then he bought a sleek black Tesla Nothing, flashy but smooth silent. And at the marketing office, his co-workers noticed. Whoa, one of them joked. Did you rob a bank? Elijah smiled. Nope, just working smart. No one questioned it. Then came the house, a modern sun-drenched place on the edge of town, tall windows, a pool he never thought he'd swim in, a kitchen he couldn't believe was his. He bought it under the LLC, no family, no noise. He moved in alone, no announcements, no party. His parents still thought he was living in the cramped apartment downtown, and for now he liked it that way. Every night, Elijah sat on the patio with a cold drink and watched the light fade across the yard. He scrolled past the group chat. Nathan was posting pictures again, this time of wedding invitations and honeymoon brochures. His parents commented with endless pride. He didn't reply. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He was free. Elijah never wanted them to know. Not because he was ashamed, he had shed that long ago, but because he had already lived the version of love that came only when you were useful. And now that he was quietly living in a sunlit house that made his old apartment feel like a memory from another life, he knew exactly what would happen if word got out. They'd come not to ask how he was, not to talk about what they'd missed, but to circle like moths drawn to heat they didn't help ignite. It started like he expected, a text from his mother, warm in all the wrong ways. "We miss you so much. Nathan said you moved into a nice place. Let's do dinner. Just us." Like old times. Old times, the kind where Elijah had to keep his boyfriend a secret. The kind where he was told, "Don't bring that part of you around your cousins. It's confusing for the kids." The kind where he sat through meals where his name wasn't mentioned once while Nathan's career girlfriend and house plans were passed around like family trophies. He wasn't nostalgic for that, but he went anyway. Not to reconnect, but to remember, to look them in the eyes and see if they even recognized who he'd become. Nathan opened the door, still carrying that effortless grin that had always earned him a seat at the center of every room. Amanda greeted him, sweetly rehearsed as ever. His mother pulled him into a hug with too much perfume and too little sincerity. His father offered a handshake as if Elijah had never shared his blood, only his last name. The dining room table was set with their best dishes, the air filled with roasted meat and underlying expectation. Elijah took his place at the table and said little. Dinner unfolded like theater. Nathan spoke about new renovations, Amanda, about the wedding venue. His mother beamed. His father nodded, and Elijah listened, invisible in plain sight. No one asked about his work, his life, or whether he was seeing someone. No one asked if he was happy, but he was used to that. After all, happiness had never been something they thought he deserved, not once he told them he was gay. Then came the pitch. His mother tapped her glass gently with a spoon. "We wanted to share something special with you." Nathan pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Elijah opened it. A formal estimate from a construction firm, $100,000 for a new sunroom garage upgrade and wedding enhancements. "Amanda's always dreamed of a destination wedding," his mother said, softening her voice like it would make the ask feel less sharp. "And with your success, we thought maybe you'd want to help." Nathan leaned forward, smiling. "It's a solid investment, adds value to the house, plus family sticks together, right?" Elijah didn't blink. He let the silence sit, let it stretch until it grew uncomfortable. "You mean like when Nathan got a house and I got a scratch off," he said quietly. His mother's face faltered. "That was different." "It always is," Elijah replied, pushing the folder back. "It's always different when it comes to me. When I came out, you told me to keep it quiet. You didn't want the neighbors to talk. You didn't want Grandma to know. You didn't want pictures of my prom date in the living room." He looked at each of them. "Now you want a piece of what I've built without any of you." His father looked down. Amanda shifted in her seat. Nathan's smile disappeared. "I've never asked for anything," Elijah said. "Not when you left me out of vacations, not when you skipped my graduation, not when I moved into an apartment with a leaky roof because I didn't have help with student loans. But now that I have something you want, you remember I exist." Nathan opened his mouth, but Elijah stood before he could speak. "You all made it clear what you value. I just stopped trying to be part of it." He left without slamming the door, without anger, without apology. Outside, the wind felt lighter than the air. Inside, that house had ever been. He sat in his car for a long moment before starting the engine, staring at the lights of a home he no longer envied. They weren't his family anymore. Not really. And maybe, just maybe, they never had been. Elijah didn't return their messages. Not the first week, not the second, not even when his mother texted to say they were thinking of moving into his neighborhood because the community felt so lovely. He read the words with a kind of detached disbelief. The same people who once told him to tone it down when he wore a pride bracelet to family dinner, who asked him to lie about his identity to protect their image, were now circling him again. drawn not by change of heart, but by proximity to power. He didn't respond. He wasn't angry anymore, just done. The house became a haven. He turned the guest room into a reading lounge, the upstairs den into a music space, and kept the walls free of portraits, not because he had no family, but because he was no longer pretending they were part of his foundation. Every morning he brewed coffee slowly. Every night he sat under the porch lights and let the silence wrap around him. But it wasn't loneliness. It was clarity, the kind you don't find until you've sat through years of being tolerated but never embraced. Then one Sunday, another invitation came, dinner again. Just like old times. The message closed with a line that made him pause. "We have some exciting plans to discuss. It'll be good for everyone." He almost deleted it, but curiosity has its own pull, especially when you have already built a life too solid to be shaken. So he went, and this time, he brought nothing but himself. The moment he walked in, he could tell something had shifted. Nathan was more eager, his tone forced. His mother greeted him with a nervous warmth. The table was set with an almost performative precision, like a stage. Dinner moved predictably, updates on Nathan's work, Amanda's wedding stress, their father's new grill. Elijah played along until dessert when the real reason came. A folder slid across the table again. Inside, updated estimates. The new request wasn't subtle. Over $100,000. "We just thought," his mother began gently, "with how far you've come, maybe you'd like to help." Nathan added, "It's not just for the house. Amanda wants to move the wedding to Santorini now, and a bigger garage would really increase resale value." Elijah sat back. His fingers rested on the folder. He didn't open it. "You know," he said quietly, "I used to dream of sitting here and being seen. I used to believe if I achieved enough, worked hard enough, maybe one day you'd be proud of me for something other than staying silent about who I was." His mother blinked. "We are proud of you." "No," he said gently. "You're proud of the version of me you don't have to accept. You're proud now because I'm successful, not because I'm me." He turned to Nathan. "You were handed everything. And now you want more from the brother who wasn't invited to your engagement party because I make grandma uncomfortable." His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "I've built a life where I'm no longer ashamed to exist. I've built something for myself without your encouragement, without your money, and certainly without your blessing. And now you're here asking for a cut." His father looked away. His mother's lip quivered. Nathan stared stunned. Elijah rose from the table, pushed the folder back across the linen. "You had years to see me, to love me out loud. Now you just see a wallet." He stepped back toward the door. "I'm not the secret anymore. I'm not the shame. And I don't owe you for surviving what you never protected me from." Outside, the air was cool and still. He walked back to his car slowly, not because he was unsure, but because he wanted to remember this moment, the final page of a chapter where he had waited too long for permission to be whole. In the days that followed, Elijah blocked their numbers. He donated to a shelter for LGBTQ+ youth, paid for therapy scholarships, and quietly funded a legal clinic, helping teens kicked out by families like his. One night, after sending a check to an organization in the South that helped queer kids find emergency housing, he sat under his porch lights, watching the sky break into stars. The past still existed, but it no longer defined him. The boy who once had to lie about his first crush, who had to pretend Pride Month didn't exist, who accepted a lottery ticket instead of love, that boy had grown into someone free. Someone seen, if not by them, then at least by himself. And sometimes that was more than enough. What does freedom look like for you? Is it silence or finally being heard? Tell us in the comments. We read every word. And if Elijah's story stirred something in you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Heart Stories, where truth finds its voice and every survivor becomes the hero of their own ending.